Hey everybody, so I'm making this video because I am starting my children's book project that was acquired by Holiday House, and that's coming out in spring 2026, Sun, Moon, and Star. So I'm making this video because at this moment I have gotten the go-ahead, the green light, so to speak, on the interior illustration. So like prior to this, I've done color comps, I've, had all my line drawings, things like that. I've gotten edits like for the text. Those are pretty much in place and everything like that. I do need to send a PDF with the color and the text edits to the editor, and I'll be doing that in like early next week because it's pretty much done. But sometimes I need a break so I can just kind of like, okay, I made those changes, need a day, let me look at it tomorrow, because sometimes when you just look at page after page it gets to be a lot. Okay, so today's video is talking about a production schedule. So when you have lots of illustrations to do, and I'm going pretty much like when I think about the illustrations for the interior of the book, including the cover, I have a lot of illustrations that need to be done in a certain time frame. So like I'm looking at when the final illustrations are due and how much time do I have from now until when those final illustrations are due. And then I'm breaking up that time into hopefully like, some things are going to be quicker than others. So I'm just kind of guesstimating on how much I should give each illustration. So I know I have a certain number of illustrations and I have a total of, is it 16? I mean, if I'm calling it by pages, half of 32, I'm saying like 16. It's actually a little less than that because some of them are full spreads, but also I have the cover, so let's say 17. Anyway, so what I did is I looked at the book dummy and I started printing out calendars. You can get free calendars like calendar.com, and you can just print out PDFs, and then I just print them out so that I can have something that's letter size, sheets of paper. Oops, sorry, that's my printer going. I have the color comps printing out right now so that I have color copies of everything so that I can look at them. Yep, because I'm going to reference those color printouts when I start actually doing the painting part of things. So anyways, back to this. Sorry that noise is going on. I can't help it because I've got too much stuff to get done. So anyways, gotta stay on production schedule. So I went ahead and I printed this out, and then I went ahead and labeled each, figured out, okay, just wrote in like, just to kind of say each week I'm gonna give it an illustration. I mean, I didn't really know. And then I went into, as you can see, these are the other months. Okay, so I'm looking at this week here. I guesstimated a week per illustration, and then I went ahead and I figured out, and this is probably not the best way to do it, I just have to have like a visual reference, and then I saw how many weeks I had left after I had labeled everything out, and then I was like, okay, so this is how many weeks I have left, and then I divided that by the number of illustrations, and that told me how many days I had left over that I could add per week. So I can give each illustration a total of 9.5 days. So almost 10 days per illustration. So when I say per illustration, I'm talking for my process. I have to get the watercolor, get it printed on watercolor paper. I'm going to even break it down even more than that. I'm going to show you for my process. Now, this might not suit your process because maybe you work all digitally. Maybe you do something completely different. I'm the cut paper illustrator who is, cutting and painting things by hand, and then I glue them together, and then I photograph them. So everybody's process is different, but this is just kind of the basics for how do you make a production schedule. Okay, so illustration 30 is actually a full page, so I want to include that. It's a full page illustration. I know that the first week of July is coming up. I probably want to even include like holidays. If I want to get that particular, I will probably work on my holidays and weekends. I'm including that. I do have another job, so I work part-time as the school year, once the school year rolls over, I'm going to lose some days because I'm going to probably be teaching. So, all right, so for this week, let's say, hypothetically, I need one day to make all my pieces. Okay, so what I'm talking about making my pieces is I take my sketch and I break it apart literally digitally so I can print it out on watercolor paper. The watercolor, so I'm not really redrawing anything. I run the watercolor paper, and it's like standard sheets of watercolor paper that are, I just have to tear them out of these books. So, and I use Dick Blick's watercolor paper, so I like just tear a sheet out. I just have to cut the perforation at the end, and I use my paper cutter for that, handy dandy paper cutter. But you can see like there's like this ghosted line, and print the paper out. I have to run it through, you know, some water, because then I'm using my incredible artboard to just like, and I staple it down. That needs a whole day, so it's got to dry overnight. I don't like to rush things. Call me a traditionalist. I don't want to hit it with an, blow dryer. So make my pieces. Drawings have already been done. So then it's got to be watercolor, paper, stretched. Okay. Then that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, and then technically a half day here, right? I'm not including that Sunday for now. Okay, so I would say I'm gonna start Monday, but that's just to give myself some wiggle room. Okay, so then I know, and this is like something that you will know from doing your process. The more you do it, the more however you decide that your process is, then it's easier doing a production schedule. So hopefully it's not like one of those things that you get hired and it's like you've only done a couple of pieces in your portfolio. You've probably done your process enough times to have a full body of work, and so you have an idea of how long it takes. Now, if you don't know, I would definitely kind of time yourself on an illustration and see how long that's really going to take you to do a particular piece. You know, what I'm assuming is as I do this, I'm going to pick up speed. I'm going to get faster. So I'm probably going to be able to regain some time as I get through this. So we're talking about, then I'm going to start inking, because I know I ink with my Copic Gazanfundi brush pen. So I know I'm gonna have to, so doing all these things kind of tells you like how much product or, supplies am I gonna need. I'm probably gonna run through several of these, so I'm gonna order like 5 or 6 of these. Let me tell you, one of the worst things you can ever find yourself in is a place as an illustrator when you don't have enough supplies. Oh my goodness. You run out of something in the middle of working on something. It's so aggravating. Always buy backups. Like multiple. So if it's something you love working with and because you've repeatedly done that process. So this is my last brand new brush pen. I've used this over and over again. I've got a ton of these normally, and then I realized, oh man, I need to order probably a bunch of these. So I'm gonna make a trip probably to the art supply store and buy like, it might seem crazy, but when you're working on an entire children's book and you want that consistency, like having bulk orders of things. It's just like anybody who like crochets or knits, like yarn, like if you buy a skein of yarn, you want it from the same lot. It's the same kind of thing. You don't want in the mid stride of things be like, oh my goodness, I ran out of this. And then it's like somehow it's slightly different, even though it's the same thing. Believe me, it really amazes me, kind of like even the fluctuations between like, especially like paint stuff, like my watercolor acrylic inks. Man, there's like a little bit of fluctuation between those colors. It's enough that it's not too bad, but it's enough that I notice it. So anyways, just things to keep in mind. Okay, so I digress. Let's go back to inking. I know the inking, I'm going to probably start painting, but for this first one, I'm going to want to like really nail down, and so I'm going to make swatches. I'm going to make a cheat sheet of swatches. So we're going to say that takes the rest of the day. I'm going to say it's probably not going to take me that long to paint, 2 days. Cut 1 day. I'm pretty fast at the cutting. Glue. And this is a glue day. And then I need 2.5 days. And really, to be, you know, it'll probably only take me 2 days, so I'm trying to use this. So 2 days for the photography, photos, and post-production. So we're talking about digital cleanup. So ideally, every single illustration will take 9.5 days, you know, in the ideal world. Less than that. I'm really hoping I'll pick up speed. And then also some of the illustrations are not as complex. I am deciding I am making a cut in one of the materials I'm using, because I was going to use fabric, and I'm just like, ooh, that's going to create its own problems. And I think I'm just going to streamline and just do everything in paper. Majority of it, with the exception of balsa wood, paper, and keep it towards those kind of things. Maybe some oh yes, definitely maybe some Korean handmade paper hanji and use that. But like, I had originally intended fabric, and I'm just gonna have to cut that because it's just it's a tight squeeze for the number of days. So you can see, even though I gave it, you know, this amount of time, I'm gonna have to bump the next illustration over. This one is a spread. But like, if I don't have to do my swatches again, the inking and the painting, I might save some time. So this is where you kind of have to, you know, it's basically an outline, and it could adjust or fluctuate depending on what, you know, I'm working on. I also have to include the fact that I might get sick. You know, I still teach part-time in the school year. So once we start getting into the school year in August, which is just around the corner, going back to school teaching here on these 2 days. So, you know, it's going to be harder. I'm going to be maybe a little bit more tired. I may get sick. So I'm really trying to be conscious of giving myself some wiggle room, but not, you know, in the sense of like, you know, I get, you know, a cold or bronchitis or something like that. Yeah, so those things have to be adjusted for. So yeah, so certain things I also know are going to be a little less complex. So here, like, I can show this one. I can show you this one. So this is the title page. You know, I've got to add, I added a day for just this. That's not going to take that long. You know, it's very simple. A lot of this is going to be digital elements that I've scanned. So there's a little bit of back and forth of that, testing that out. But I don't feel like something like this is going to be as difficult. So, and then where other illustrations, they're gonna require more pieces, like this one on page 30. I've got my pieces ready to go, and so I'm gonna start inking today, but I am gonna go to the art supply store and I'm gonna buy more pens, because it really panics me right now with the thought of like, I am down to my last pen. So I have more watercolor paper and all of that, and I have plenty of balsa wood. So all of that, and I even got, yeah, I have my order of other supplies that I have that I've pre-ordered. So those are ready to go. So I kind of really made sure that those things were taken care of before I started on this project. So anyways, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna give more like process of what this is like as I go on, because I feel like when you see kind of like live, you know, I feel like there are certain things I can share. Like, I feel like I'm okay sharing a title page. There's really not giving anything away. And then some of the other steps of things that I'm doing along the way, I'm gonna record that and share that. So you can kind of see, like, this is kind of a record of what it was like for me on my project. Could be totally different, but these are just some ground rules that I feel like are helpful for anybody's process, because you do want to be able to know, can you make your deadline, and what's it going to take for you to make a deadline. And then if you can't make your deadline, the sooner you know, you can go back and say, maybe I'm just going to ask for more time. ask for more time, and clearly communicating, this is why I need more time. This is why. I think anybody you work with is really going to understand, because at the end of the day, I want a product that I am proud of standing next to as I'm doing a school visit. And I can be like, oh, here's the original artwork. And, feel like I really, gave it my all within the time period that I had that was realistic. Like anything, people get sick. And like I said, I had a pinched nerve one time, and that thing had me laid out for like a month. I was drawing too much. I wasn't paying attention to my posture. I've heard of other friends having hand issues as well when they've done so much drawing. I think that tends to be a lot to do with the if you tend to work on a digital type of device, because I noticed like I just didn't move my hand. It got really stiff. And so that's another reason why I tend to like more traditional mediums. I feel like I move more, like so it keeps these things going. There's a certain point where I have to do digital because I'm setting a digital file. That's what the client wants. I don't want to ship them stuff. It's way too prohibitive, expensive. I do want to have original artwork, which in another video, I'm going to show you like things that I considered prior to like starting on final artwork, that if you want traditional pieces that will translate from your book into, say, framed artwork that is, this is less of a consideration if you work all digitally because you can size, resize, or whatever. But if you have physical, traditional work that you want to be able to showcase in a gallery setting, or maybe during school visits and stuff like that, I'm gonna have another video for that, to kind of explaining my thought process behind. And it's like in process, so I don't even know if it's quite right, but I'm just gonna share what I learned, and then if you get some value on it, great. If you make it better, that's even better. And then share that along the way and make it easier for somebody else. I mean, like, I don't know. People are always like, oh, this is what, proprietary, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I just look at it as like, somebody's still got to do the work. I, at the end of the day, got advice from other people, and then I have incorporated it into what I do. I don't think it, for me, I didn't really live in a bubble and said, oh, I just came up with this all on my own. I really got a lot of advice from other people. And I share that in the interviews that I do on my podcast called My Creative Life. The link is in the description box below, and you can listen to those podcast interviews, all types of creators and how they work on their process and their journey. So none of this is anything particularly proprietary, I guess is the word. I just kind of figure things, and then you apply it to yourself, and how does that make sense for you? If it doesn't work, then don't do it. If you try it, that is the biggest thing. If you hadn't heard about it, you won't know to try it and see if it could make your process better. So yeah, that's why I'm sharing that. But yeah, I'll make a separate video about working. If you do traditional, it probably fits better with somebody who works collage or dimensionally, what I share with you on that video. But anyways, good luck on working on whatever your project. If this is a self-directed project and not one that's been actually, acquired by a publisher, that's okay too. You're learning from what you do, and you will build on it, and you will get faster, and you will be able to be more confident in how you're making things, and that you can meet a deadline, and that you can be successful at it. Like, try your best not to, like, always think about, getting that goal that is predicated on other people giving that to you. Really, it's, in my opinion, it's much better if you do these because you really want to learn, grow, improve your process at the end of the day. Anyway, so keep writing, keep illustrating, and thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful. Bye.